Admiral Do-hyun stood by the large window of the HSV Indomitable, watching Earth get smaller as the ship moved away. This big ship was taking 5,000 people to a new home among the stars. It was the 57th time humans had successfully moved to a planet around another star. "What a view," he said quietly. The blue marble of Earth was now just a bright dot against the blackness of space. 100 years ago, humans had to leave Earth. The planet was getting too hot, resources were running out, and too many people lived in too little space. Back then, humans had just figured out how to travel faster than light. They had no choice but to find new homes. "Admiral, Proxima Station says all systems are good." "We can make the jump," said Lieutenant J from his control station. Do-hyun nodded. The United Earth Coalition now had people living in 23 star systems. They had spread out carefully and quietly. While alien races fought over the same planets and resources, humans built colonies in places the aliens thought were worthless. "They never bothered to check how well we can adapt," Do-hyun said to himself. Human scientists had found ways to change dead planets into places where people could live. After they discovered what they called the Kang-Park equation, they could make a planet livable in just 30 years. Captain Sunmi walked up with a screen in her hand. "Sir, we have news from our outer colonies. The Collective is growing its territory again." The Collective was a group of 11 alien species who controlled most of the galaxy's politics. They knew humans existed, but they thought Earth was just one small planet with a few weak colonies. Humans had worked hard to keep it that way, using fake companies and careful lies to hide their true numbers. "How close are they to finding Hyunju colony?" Do-hyun asked. Hyunju was where humans got most of their lithium, a metal needed for their best technology. "They're within 2 parsecs, Admiral. If they keep going the same way, they'll find our real borders in less than 6 months. Do-hyun's face stayed calm, but inside he was worried. The UEC wanted 10 more years of secret growth. The colonies needed to be able to survive on their own, and the fleet of warships wasn't ready yet. "Send a message to Earth Command. Authorization Delta 7. We need to start the Revelation Protocol sooner than planned." Sunmi's eyes got big. "Yes, sir." As the Indomitable got ready for its faster-than-light jump, Do-hyun thought about what was coming. Humans had built something amazing, an empire of 88 billion people spread across many worlds. They had made new technology that developed in ways the aliens had never thought of. He wondered, would the galaxy welcome humans as equals when they learned the truth? Or would they attack out of fear? The ship hummed as the engines powered up. The stars outside the window stretched into lines of light. Hundreds of other human ships were making similar journeys today, all part of humanity's quiet spread across the stars. Do-hyun remembered his grandfather's stories about the early days of space travel. Back then, the few aliens who visited Earth saw humans as primitive and unimportant. They shared only the most basic technology, thinking humans weren't ready for more. That underestimation became humanity's greatest advantage. "Jump complete, Admiral," said Lieutenant J. "We've arrived at the edge of the Tau Ceti system." Through the window, Do-hyun could see the golden light of Tau Ceti and the 4th planet, their destination. Unlike Earth, this world had started as a frozen rock. Now, after 20 years of terraforming, it had oceans, a breathable atmosphere, and the beginnings of a proper ecosystem. "Status report on New Busan colony?" he asked. Sunmi checked her screen. Population 1.2 million, farms, operating at 83% efficiency, mining operations exceeding targets by 15%. "They're ready to receive our new colonists." Do-hyun nodded with satisfaction. Each new colony strengthened humanity's position. Each new world gave them more resources, more living space, more security. A young ensign approached with another screen. "Sir, we've detected unusual activity at the edge of the system. 3 unidentified ships appeared briefly before disappearing again." Do-hyun frowned. "Collective scouts?" "Possibly," said Sunmi. "Their energy signatures matched Terex vessels. The Terex were the most warlike species in the Collective. If they were scouting human territory, it meant trouble. Alert the defense fleet. Tell them not to engage, just monitor," ordered Do-hyun. and speed up our landing schedule. I want all colonists planetside within 24 hours instead of 48, as officers hurried to carry out his orders. Do-hyun turned back to the window. In the distance, he could see the small lights of the human defense ships moving into new positions, invisible to most alien sensors. Thanks to technology, the collective didn't know humans possessed. For generations, humanity had built strength in silence. They had studied the alien species from afar, learning their weaknesses without revealing their own advances. They had prepared for the day when hiding would no longer be possible. That day was coming sooner than expected. Send another message to Earth Command, Do-hyun said. Tell them we may have been spotted. Ask them if we should continue with standard procedures or move to Defense Plan Alpha. As the message was sent, Do-hyun watched the stars. Out there, the vast empire of the collective continued its business, unaware that a new power had grown in the spaces between their territories. Unaware that humans had built something remarkable while no one was watching. Soon, they would all know, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. Governor Han walked slowly around the broken pieces of what used to be Research Outpost Sigma. The attack had been quick and deadly. The outpost communication towers were destroyed first, then the power stations, then the defense shields. 327 researchers were dead. This was the first open attack on a human facility. Show me the security video again, he said. His assistant tapped a small device and a 3D image appeared in the air. The image showed alien ships, smooth and curved like sea creatures. They belonged to the Orcs, the most warlike aliens in the collective. These ships had fired on the human outpost without warning. Later, the Orcs said they had attacked unknown enemies, pretending they didn't know the outpost was human. Bin, Han's security chief, looked at information on his screen. They knew exactly what they were hitting, sir. This was not a mistake. Of course it wasn't, Han said. They've found part of our network and they're testing to see what we'll do. He turned on his special communicator. Connect me to Admiral Do-hyun. When the Admiral's face appeared on the screen, Han didn't waste time with hello. They've made their move. We need to change the revelation protocol. I agree, said Do-hyun. Earth Command has approved Operation Shadowcast. How fast can you get people out of the border facilities? Han checked his screen. 3 days for complete evacuation, but the Orcs will notice us moving. That's what we're counting on, said Do-hyun. I'm sending the 3rd Fleet to your position. When the Orcs come back, they won't find empty research stations. They'll find human warships ready to defend our territory. Han nodded seriously. What about talking to them? Ambassador G has prepared our message for the Galactic Assembly. When the collective reports their discovery of armed human colonies, she will reveal how far we have really spread. The shock should give us room to bargain. After they finished talking, Han looked out at the destroyed outpost. For 100 years, humans had spread quietly across space, using the fact that aliens looked down on them as a cover. They had built up their strength in secret, making their own new technologies without aliens watching or spying. Now, that time of hiding was ending. The question wasn't if they could avoid war. The Orcs had already started shooting. The question was whether humans had prepared enough to fight aliens who had been traveling in space for thousands of years. 2 days later, Han watched as the last transport ships lifted off from Research Station Beta. The evacuation was going faster than planned. Humans were good at moving quickly when needed. They had plenty of practice over the last century. Sir, said Bin, our sensors have picked up 3 Terran scout ships entering the system. Han wasn't surprised. Are our new defenses ready? Yes, sir. The shield generators are hidden under the surface. Weapon systems are in place but not visible. From space, this looks like an abandoned facility. Good. Let them come. Take a closer look. The plan was simple but clever. Let the Terrans think they had scared off the humans. Let them land to examine the empty buildings, then show them just how wrong they were. Han moved to the new underground command center. On the big screen, he could see the Terran ships getting closer to the planet. They moved with confidence, clearly not expecting any danger. All defense teams prepare for Operation Surprise, Han ordered. No one fires until my command. The Terex ships entered orbit, then dropped lower into the atmosphere. One ship broke off and headed toward the empty research buildings. They're sending a landing party, Ben reported. 20 soldiers, light weapons. Han nodded. Let them land. Let them enter the main building. Then spring the trap. They watched as the alien soldiers moved through the abandoned facility. The Terex were tall, with 4 arms and tough skin that looked like rock. They carried energy weapons and moved with military precision. They're in the central lab, Ben said. All in position. Han took a deep breath. This would be the first real fight between humans and the collective. What happened here would set the tone for everything that followed. Activate shields, he ordered. Outside, hidden generators hummed to life. A dome of energy formed over the entire facility, trapping the Terex ship inside. What's their reaction? Han asked. Confusion, sir. They're trying to contact their main ship. Jam their signals. Activate holographic projection. In the lab where the Terex soldiers stood, the air shimmered. A life-sized image of Han appeared before them. Attention, Terex forces, Han's image said. You have illegally entered human territory and attacked our outposts. You are now prisoners of the United Earth Coalition. The Terex soldiers raised their weapons, but they had no one to shoot at. The hologram couldn't be hurt. Sir, their main ships are charging weapons, Ben reported. Bring our ships out of hiding, Han ordered. Above the planet, 5 human warships dropped their stealth fields, suddenly appearing around the Terex vessels. The human ships were smaller but more numerous. Open channel to the Terex commander, Han said. A harsh, deep voice answered. This is Commander Vextor of the Collective Forces. You are in violation of collective space. Surrender immediately. Han laughed. Look at your sensors again, Commander. You are surrounded, your landing party is trapped, and you are in human space, not collective territory. We have occupied these systems for 80 years. There was a long pause. Impossible, the Terex commander finally said. Humans have only 3 colony worlds, all within 10 light years of Earth. That's what we wanted you to believe, Han said. The truth is quite different, but I'm not authorized to enlighten you further. You have 2 choices. Retreat immediately or be destroyed. The collective does not retreat, growled the commander. Then you've chosen poorly, Han said calmly. All ships authorized to fire, target their engines only. The human ships moved with perfect coordination. Energy beams struck the 2 Terex vessels, disabling their engines but leaving the rest of the ships intact. Last chance, Commander, Han said. We've disabled your ships but left life support intact. We can destroy you completely, or you can accept temporary capture until diplomatic channels address this situation. After another long pause, the Terex commander responded, his voice tight with anger. We accept temporary capture under protest. Han nodded. Wise choice. Prepare to be boarded. As human troops moved to secure the alien ships, Han sent a message to Admiral Do-hyun. First contact successful. The Terex know about us now. They'll tell the rest of the collective soon. Do-hyun's reply was quick. Well done. Ambassador G is on her way to the Galactic Assembly. The Revelation Protocol has begun. There's no going back now. Han looked at the screen showing the captured Terex. The aliens looked angry and confused. They had expected to find a few scared humans running away. Instead, they found a prepared and capable military force. The secret was out. Humanity wasn't weak or primitive. They had built something powerful in the shadows. Now the whole galaxy would know. Ambassador G stood tall and calm in the Great Hall of the Galactic Assembly. Around her, hundreds of alien representatives sat in rising circles, like a giant bowl with her at the bottom. Each seat held a different type of alien. Some had scales, some had fur, some had many eyes, some had none. But right now all of them were looking at her. G was the first human to ever speak to the full assembly. For 100 years humans had only sent minor officials who pretended to represent a small, weak Earth. Today, that pretending would end. Honored representatives of the Galactic Assembly, G began. her voice strong and clear. "I come before you to correct a misunderstanding that has existed for too long." She pressed a button on her wrist device. In the center of the hall, a large 3D map appeared, showing thousands of stars. Small blue dots began to light up across the map. 1, then 5, then dozens, then hundreds. "These blue lights show human colonies and outposts," G said. 23 fully developed star systems. 62 planets where humans now live. A total population of nearly 90 billion humans. The hall erupted in loud voices. Some aliens stood up, shouting. Others whispered to their neighbors. Many were checking their own devices, trying to confirm what they were seeing. "This is a lie," shouted Kexlar, the main Terex representative. He was large and gray with 4 arms and rock-like skin. "Humans don't have the technology for this much expansion." "Yet here we are," G replied calmly. "While the collective has spent centuries fighting over the same resource-rich systems, humanity explored what you thought was worthless space. We developed technologies that worked well with our adaptive nature." The Malorian representative, who looked like a walking crystal, leaned forward. "These claims must be checked. If true, humanity has broken assembly rules that say you must tell us about territorial expansion. Rules that apply to recognized spacefaring civilizations," G countered. "Until today, the Assembly has classified Earth as a developing single planet species despite our repeated request to be reclassified. We have records of 47 such rejected requests over the past century." The hall filled with overlapping arguments as representatives tried to understand what this meant. Humanity hadn't just built a few colonies. They had built an empire as big as the collective itself, all while everyone thought they were unimportant. "Quiet," demanded the assembly leader, an ancient alien called a Pharisian who looked like a tall, thin tree with eyes. When the room finally quieted, he turned to G. "What does Earth want from this revelation?" G's face remained calm. "Recognition of our territory, agreements that you won't interfere with us, and formal punishment of the Terex for their unprovoked attack on our research facility in the Hyonju system." "Ridiculous," Kexlar growled. "The facility had no markings in unclaimed space. Unmarked except for the standard human identification, signals registered with this very assembly 70 years ago," G replied, showing proof on the big displays. Signals the Terex deliberately ignored. As the arguments continued, G kept her diplomatic calm, but her thoughts were elsewhere. While she spoke, the human Third Fleet was fighting Terex forces at the border. This diplomatic reveal was only one part of Earth's plan. In a private room off the main assembly hall, G met with the Council of Five, the small group of aliens who truly ran the Galactic Assembly. The Pharisian leader sat in the center, with representatives from the oldest species in the galaxy beside him. "This revelation is troubling," said the Pharisian. "No species has ever expanded so far without detection." "We weren't hiding," G said. "We were being ignored. Your surveys marked our colony worlds as dead rocks. Your trade representatives dismissed our technology as primitive. When we tried to engage with the assembly properly, we were treated as unimportant curiosities." The Malorian representative's crystal body flickered with blue light, their way of showing concern. "The Terex are demanding military action against your illegal expansion. They claim you are a threat to galactic stability." He smiled slightly. "The Terex attacked us first, and as we speak, their forces are learning how unwise that decision was." She activated a small device on the table. It showed images from the battle at the human border. The Terex fleet, 50 ships strong, engaged with what seemed to be only 20 human vessels. But the human ships moved in unexpected ways, appearing and disappearing from sensors. Their weapons weren't the standard energy beams most species used, but something new that slipped past Terex shields as if they weren't there. "What is this technology?" asked a furry representative from the Dalvik species. "We call them phase disruptors," G explained. While the collective focused on making stronger energy weapons and shields, humans explored different paths. We found that certain quantum frequencies can bypass traditional shields entirely. The council members watched as the Terex fleet was quickly disabled, not destroyed but left unable to fight or flee. You could have destroyed them, noted the Parisian. We could have, G agreed. But humans don't seek destruction, only security. Every Terex ship has been disabled, but their life support remains functional. We are not murderers. The Malorian leaned forward. Why reveal yourselves now? You could have continued to expand in secret. The Terex discovery of one of our major mining operations forced our hand, G replied honestly. And truthfully, we're tired of hiding. Humans want to join the galactic community properly, as equals, not as primitives to be dismissed. The council members looked at each other, communicating in ways G couldn't understand. Finally, the Parisian spoke. The Assembly faces an unprecedented situation. A species we thought was minor has revealed itself to be a major power overnight. The political implications are complex. G nodded. We understand. That's why we've prepared this. She handed over a data crystal. A proposed treaty between humanity and the collective. Fair terms for trade, territorial recognition, and cultural exchange. We offer friendship and cooperation. And if we refuse? Asked the Dulvik representative. Then we continue to develop separately, G said simply. But consider this. Humans have created technologies the collective hasn't discovered in thousands of years of development. Imagine what we could achieve together instead of apart. Later, as G walked back to her ship, her assistant Song hurried up to her. How did it go? Song asked. As expected, G replied. Shock, disbelief, then cautious interest. She looked at her wrist device. What's the status of the Third Fleet? Complete victory, Ambassador. 48 Terex ships captured, 2 escaped, to carry the news. Minimal human casualties. G nodded, pleased but not surprised. For years, humanity had developed in isolation, creating military technology specifically designed to counter collective weapons. The Terex never had a chance. And Governor Han? He reports the prisoner transfer is complete. The captured Terex are being treated well, as ordered. They reached G's ship, where Captain Yu waited at the entry ramp. Ambassador, we've received a message from Earth Command, Yu said. They've activated Phase 2 of the Revelation Protocol. All human worlds are on alert, and the main fleets have moved to defensive positions. Good, G said. And Admiral Do Hyun? The Admiral requests your presence at Hyunju as soon as possible. The collective leadership has requested a direct meeting. G smiled slightly. This was moving faster than expected. The display of human military capability had made an impression. As her ship lifted off from the assembly world, G looked down at the sprawling alien city below. For a century, humans had watched from the shadows, learning about the different alien species, studying their strengths and weaknesses, all while building something remarkable in the darkness. Now it was time to step into the light. Set course for Hyunju, she ordered, and send word to Earth Command that the diplomatic phase is proceeding as planned. The revelation has begun. The ship rose into the night sky, moving toward a future where humans would finally take their place among the stars. Not as newcomers begging for scraps, but as equals who had earned their position through ingenuity and determination. The galaxy would never be the same. Commander Taewon's stealth corvette hung silent in the void, all systems in passive mode as the massive Terex dreadnought passed within kilometers. The human vessel, with its crystalline heat-dispersing hull and quantum signature dampeners, was effectively invisible. All strike teams report ready, whispered Lieutenant Min through the tactical network. Taewon acknowledged with a hand signal. The Third Fleet's conventional forces were engaging the Terex armada directly at the border, but this mission might determine the true outcome of the conflict. Launch when they're past the detection threshold, he ordered. Seconds later, 12 infiltration pods silently detached from the corvette, each carrying 4 special warfare operators. While the collective species had spent millennia developing energy weapons and shield technology, humanity had focused on different paths: stealth, systems, biotechnology, and neural interfaces that allowed operators to control equipment with thought alone. Strike teams away, Min confirmed. Projected intercept in 8 minutes. The plan was audacious, Rather than trying to destroy the Terex dreadnought in conventional combat, a battle they would likely lose, they would capture it. Human quantum. Computing had already broken Terex encryption, and the operators carried adaptive interface technology that could connect with alien systems. First team has breached the hull, Min reported, monitoring the neural feeds. No alarms. Taiwan watched as the operation unfolded with precision. The Terex, accustomed to standoff warfare with energy weapons and shields, had never developed effective countermeasures for direct infiltration. Their internal security was primitive compared to their external defenses. Within 20 minutes, human operators had reached the command center and engineering. The Terex crew, caught completely by surprise by enemies inside their shields, offered minimal resistance. All primary objectives secured, Min announced. Dreadnought command systems under our control. Taiwan allowed himself a small smile. Across the border region, 20 similar operations were underway simultaneously. By day's end, the Terex would have lost a third of their fleet without understanding how they had been defeated. Signal Admiral Do Hyun, he ordered. Phase 1, complete. The humans hadn't just built an empire in secret. They had developed an entirely different approach to warfare. The collective was about to discover just how creative humans could be when threatened. 5 months after the Revelation Protocol, Admiral Do Hyun stood in Earth's orbital command center alongside representatives from 7 collective species. The peace negotiations had been difficult, but reality had forced even the most hostile elements of the collective to accept humanity's position. The treaty is ready for final signatures, announced Ambassador G, who had masterfully navigated the diplomatic complexities. The Malorian representative spoke first. We still find it difficult to comprehend how humans achieved so much without detection. Do Hyun shrugged slightly. You saw what you expected to see. Your surveys classified our potential colony worlds as uninhabitable. Your intelligence services dismissed our technological capabilities. When we tried to engage diplomatically, we were treated as primitive curiosities. So you built an empire in the shadows, said the Parisian moderator. We built an empire in plain sight, G corrected. We filed every colonial charter, registered every outpost. The assembly simply never bothered to connect the dots because humans weren't considered worthy of serious attention. The treaty before them established a new galactic order. The Terex had been censured by the assembly and forced to pay reparations. For their unprovoked attacks, human territorial claims were fully recognized. Most importantly, technology exchange protocols had been established, under careful controls. As the various representatives applied their signatures, Do Hyun reflected on the strange path that had led here. Humanity's greatest advantage had been their dismissal by others. Developing in isolation, they had explored technological avenues the collective had abandoned millennia ago, creating capabilities that had proven devastatingly effective. There is still much tension to resolve, the Malorian noted. Many in the collective fear what humans might become, and many humans fear what the collective might do, Do Hyun replied. But fear is a poor foundation for policy. We prefer cooperation where possible, strength where necessary. After the ceremony concluded, Do Hyun found himself alone with Ji. On the observation deck looking down at Earth. Was it worth it? She asked quietly. The secrecy, the preparation, the lives lost when they discovered us? Do Hyun considered the question seriously. We had no choice but to expand. Earth was dying a century ago. But how we expanded, perhaps we could have been more open, less paranoid. Or perhaps not, Ji countered. The Terex attacked the moment they realized our true capabilities. Without our preparations, that attack might have succeeded. They stood in silence, watching their homeworld turn below them. Humanity had built something remarkable from desperation and ingenuity. They had fought when necessary. Now came the harder part, building a lasting peace with species who viewed the universe very differently. The treaty is just the beginning, Do Hyun said finally. Now we need to prove we can be valuable allies, not just dangerous enemies. Ji smiled slightly. If there's one thing humans excel at, it's adapting to new circumstances. Beyond Earth's atmosphere, Construction had already begun on the first joint human collective research station. The war had been brief but decisive. The empire humanity had built would now step fully into the light, ready to shape the galactic future rather than merely survive it.